Everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business. Looking forward to talking with Jeff Schreifels, principal at Veritas. Jeff, it's great to connect with you. Looking forward to jumping in. You guys are committed to transforming nonprofit, mid-major, and planned gift programs to deliver measurable impact to both the donor and to the clients that you serve. I want to kind of dive in. Thanks so much for being on the show. I love this topic of giving and I just want to kind of start off and talk about your mission. Your mission is that every mid-major and planned gift donor to every cause will experience the most possible joy, satisfaction, and fulfillment as they express their passions, interests, and care for humankind and our planet through their giving. Okay, so a lot to unpack there, and I want to talk about a couple words that stick out for me.
Okay.
1, experience. 2, fulfillment. And 3, what it means to them specifically. So let's kind of talk about the experience. I think we're in a experiential world, right? And so to every cause will experience the most possible joy. So there's the joy of giving. There's the joy of getting. What? Just bring that to life for me out of your vision.
Well, what we know is that donors want to give, but they also want to give because they want to make a difference in the world. And their experience through the nonprofit that they're giving that gift to should be something that gives them great joy. Unfortunately, many donors don't have that joy because they have a terrible experience with these nonprofits, and nonprofits aren't treating their donors well. And so many times donors are frustrated. I've talked to many major donors over the years, and a lot of them are left disillusioned, frustrated, because nonprofits are not treating donors like true partners. They don't treat them as like part of their mission. And they're usually a means to an end. You know, they're looked at as an ATM machine rather than a real partner, a real human being that wants to do great things in the world. And so our job at Veritas is really to help these organizations see that their donors really are truly partners, to give them that great experience in their giving so that they can find joy in it and want to continue to do that. And when that happens, the organization wins, the donor wins, everyone wins in that situation. So that's what we mean by having a good experience.
I'm glad you said that. I was hoping you would kind of say something like that because I think that is a real problem. You have, we're recording this around the holiday season, right? This will air in November of 2025.
Yeah. And
I do think there's always, the ask and the push and I'm all for giving, but it is, I do sometimes feel like an ATM when I give, and there is something missing. And a lot of times I can't put my finger on it, and I kind of stop myself to say, well, the joy is just the ability or that I gave, and then I just have to kind of put it to an end at that. But there's as you're talking about it, and I would think that there's, if this were a business, you want to kind of retain the emotional connection more so than just here's the payment. Okay, thank you very much. You're invited to a whatever. So, right. So how should companies be thinking about bringing, the emotional connection? And I love the word joy that you put in here. I think fulfillment and joy kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
How do companies A, do it, and B, how do they recognize that they are in this trap but don't know it?
Yeah. Well, it goes to what we work with. Donors are high net worth, and usually we are working directly with a major gift officer, somebody who has no more than 150 donors in their portfolio. Think of them as a salesperson in a sense, but with actual live
Yeah.
human beings who are donors. And their job ultimately is to understand the passions and interests of the donor as it relates to all the amazing things that make up part of that mission, all the programs and the projects that make up the mission of that organization. And knowing that passion and interest, bring that together. And when you do that
Yeah.
well, when you build a relationship, when you're not going after money, because actually fundraising isn't about money, it's about building relationships. And if you're building those relationships, you're gaining the donor's trust over that time, and you're presenting them with an inspiring offer that matches those passions and interests, then amazing things happen. Not only does the donor feel good, but the experience that they're having gives them the joy that they're seeking through their giving. Then once that gift is
And just dive into, I was gonna say, just dive into what that experience is, the way companies should be thinking about that experience. Because it seems, and I talk to a lot of nonprofits and a lot of companies, especially on this podcast, it seems that it's kind of like a yearly coffee. Once or twice a year, reach out to say thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know if that is enough in today's world, right? Where people need
enough.
more dopamine. Yeah. So how should they be thinking about it?
Well, it goes back again, for us, if you have a portfolio of 150 donors and you're tiering them A, B, and C level and all of that, you have a plan for every donor in your portfolio throughout the whole year. And every month, there's at least 1 to 2 touch points per month per donor that you're trying to connect that donor to the mission based on their passions and interests. In other words, you might have services to the homeless, but that donor really is keyed on mothers and children. They don't, for some other reason, they're not interested in men or older, whatever. They're interested in mothers and children. So you're going to, as a good major gift officer, be feeding them really good information about what you're doing with mothers and children that is connected to what they're passionate about throughout the year. And you're building that trust. You're reporting back on the impact of their previous giving. So, they gave something last year. What have they done with that? And they're doing that in creative ways throughout the year. They're thanking them at other times of the year. They're letting them know that they know the donor. In other words, over time, they're going to know more about that donor and who they are and what they care about, even outside of the organization. Because it's their birthday or an anniversary or something that's really important to them. Like, that they're fly fishermen, and you send them articles on fly fishing. Those are all things that let the donor know, hey, somebody's thinking about me. They care about me. And that's an important thing to do.
So what I'm hearing you say is, Jeff, you teach nonprofits how to think like a business.
That's right.
Right. Yes. You teach them how to work like a business, because what you're teaching them is in many ways no differently than, as a business coach, how I work with salespeople and managers and C-level execs and, solopreneurs to Fortune companies on how to retain and build relationship capital with your client / donor / fill in the blank.
That's exactly what we're doing. Yes.
Yeah. So when you go into a nonprofit, and a lot of times, in many cases they do, in many cases they don't, think like a business. How do you begin to shift their awareness of where they need to be today?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we go in and we look at their data, and we look at how have they been treating donors, and how have donors, what does the donor behavior tell us? In other words, we want to look at a donor, let's say, gave $10,000 4 years ago. What is that same donor giving today? And we'll look at all those donors that give those large gifts all the way down to 1,000 plus a year. And what we typically find is that they're losing between 40 and 60% of their value from that first gift to today. Like over a 4-year period, So let's say someone gave $100,000 4 years ago. Today, they're giving maybe, 40,000. So we lost 60% of their value. And then the question is, why are we losing that value over time? And typically it's because we're not treating those donors well. If you look at how those donors have been treated over time, they haven't been treated well. So either they go away, they stop giving, or they give less. And so that's where we first expose it. Like, you're not treating your donors well, and here's why. You're losing, sometimes in donor files, they're losing millions of dollars over that time, and they don't know it because new donors keep coming in and mask the behavior of how they're treating the older donors. So we expose that. And then we say, okay, here's some things you need to do. And then if you actually—
Well, wait, before you get to you get to the things to do, what I'm hearing you say is you're teaching them, I'm just putting this in some business words. You're teaching them about net new. You're teaching them, you're teaching them about retention. And, it's interesting when I work with people who manage people, I work with a lot of managers or leaders that manage people. And one of the things I suggest to them is you need a business plan per person that you manage and or oversee. That business plan needs to be looked at weekly, right? What do I need to do this week to build the relationship 0.01% with this person? You're kind of saying the same thing. And what I'm hearing you say also, exact same thing. We should collab on a couple of things because what I'm hearing you also say is there is, if we fundamentally go back to, you talk about the care for humankind, right? If we just talk about humans at their core, they want to be seen. They want to know that they matter. They want to be appreciated, and they want to feel connected. And to me, those pillars, if you look at the percentage of that, whether it's in a business or a nonprofit, you never know per person when 1% in one of those categories goes down, they're basically the time to then recapture that person. I think this is what I want your opinion on. The time to recapture that person a lot of times isn't there like it used to be because they'll go to something that they feel more connected to.
Yes, exactly. And it's interesting how nonprofits look at it. Many times they love the new people. They love the new donors, but they're not really taking care of the ones that brought them there. And so that's what we show them. We're like, if you treated these donors well, you could recoup so much more in revenue that you're losing every year and you don't even know it. Because typically leaders only look at bottom line revenue. They look at last year, our major gift program did X. This year it did Y overall. They don't look at, well, how did they get there? As long as the bottom line numbers look good, hey, we're fine. Well, they're losing all kinds of revenue there.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So I have a question for you. So you have, let's just say in this scenario, your top 50, mega donors, right? And then you have the ones that are big givers, but here's the mega, here's the big.
Right.
Then you have kind of, the bottom donors that can give what they can give, but then you have this like middle tranche.
Yep.
I want to talk about the middle tranche right now, because if we go back to Obama when he learned how to use social media and through social media got a lot of followers and raised a lot of money, but those were people who were giving $5, $10. I mean, we saw like globally the impact of giving what you could, even no matter how small it was, and the impact that made. And so this tranche right here, those kind of in-betweens.
Yes.
How do you keep and capture those people?
Yeah.
Right? Because there still is a piece, a profitability piece, but that piece are the emerging megas.
Yeah. We call them mid-level donors.
Yeah.
So that middle tranche, you call them. Yeah. So we it was about 12 years ago now, developed what we call our mid-level program, which at the time in our industry, how nonprofits were treating those donors were very much like a $5 donor or $25 donor. They were sending them direct response appeals.
Yeah.
That's all they did. They treated a $500 donor or a $1,000 a year donor very much like a $5 donor. What we did is we developed a program called our mid-level, where you have a mid-level representative, much like a major gift, but you have maybe 600 donors in their portfolio versus 150. What you're doing is you're changing the relationship for the first time for that mid-level donor. Have someone actually start to reach out to them and say, hey, we know you. You're giving more, and we want to know who you are. And I'm interested in you. And so for the first time, those donors are hearing that message. And I'll tell you, in the mid-level space, you see all of these donors who once giving like 1,500 or 2,000. Someone reaches out to them personally, then they'll send a check for 10 or 20 or 30,000 for the first time, all because someone's reaching out to them. And many times those donors, those mid-level donors, are saying, you know what, I've been giving to your organization for 10 years, and this is the first time someone's reached out to me. And that feels really good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great. I think that's great what you're doing, because I agree with you, and I think we're on the same page. Nonprofits need to be thinking more like a business, and they need long gone are the days of people just giving to give. They've got to feel the connection. We can point to dozens of stories that suggest that that's not even been happening, but will continue to happen, probably at a faster pace.
Yes.
Yeah. So you were about to say, and we got kind of off on this topic, things that they can do. What are the things that they can do?
So the things that we do is we help them set up a structure, and it would be similar to what you're used to in the sales arena, where, you have 150 qualified donors, meaning these are donors that say to us, not only am I giving you a qualified gift amount that would be considered a major donor, I also want a relationship with you. They say this to us. So they're now in a portfolio if they're qualified. And we have a whole process that we go through with a nonprofit to make sure those donors are qualified. Then we tier those donors A, B, and C, because not all donors are the same. And we know that tier A is about half the total value of a portfolio. So we're going to spend most of our time there. So that helps us manage the time of the major gift officer. We then have a strategic plan attached to every donor and a cash flowed revenue goal for every donor in a portfolio, so that we know every month what's expected, and their manager knows what's expected. And then what we do is we work with them every week. Our client experience leaders work directly with a major gift officer every week to essentially say, did you do what you said you were going to do? We're giving that accountability, that focus, that encouragement that many times major gift officers are just kind of left off on their own. Here's a portfolio, go us and bring 1.5 million from it without very little direction or management. And what we provide is that care and management so that they're successful.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like the system. So a nonprofit is listening to you and I right now. They're hearing this. They've historically kind of gone out, asked, hey, Jeff, or whomever, Mr. and Mrs. such and such, would you like to give? Yes, we'll give this. Could you give a smidge more? Yes or no, they say. And then they say, thank you very much. Mm-hmm. They could listen to this potentially. I'm just kind of on the other, I want to kind of talk about, different perspectives. Well, now if we're treating it like a business and I have a business plan and we're talking about what to do, now it feels manipulative. Now it feels too strategic. Now it feels, I don't feel that way. I think it's smart business. What would you say? What would you say? Right. It's putting strategic things in place to think about it. And, but how do you answer that?
Well, we usually say that the structure that we help you put into place, nonprofit, is set up so that your major gift officer actually has the time to build the relationships with donors. If they know what they're doing every day with their portfolio, I mean, that's That gives them the creativity time, the time to actually build that relationship that before, oh, I got to go do a dinner or here, or I should do this event here. And they're not focused.
Right.
We're focusing the major gift officer so they have the time to build those relationships. And those are all really authentic. They're not fake. They're real relationships because the whole idea is to really know who that donor is. That's the whole objective.
Yeah. Right. All right, good. I was hoping you would say that, right? The goal is to create a deeper relationship with a system in place that doesn't have you running around, but that always builds on what you've previously done. And I think that's the part, and I see that in businesses a lot. When there are no systems, you're not building on what you previously did, and or people can't even remember 80% of what they talked about with somebody. So if there's no CRM, how are you supposed to remember what your notes were when you last talked to them? So it's just good relationship capital building and smart
Absolutely.
business.
It's not rocket science. We tell every nonprofit, well, what about this strategy or that strategy? I said, no, look, you need a structure, and you have that structure in place. You will see over time tremendous value from your donors, because for the first time, you're really treating them as partners, and you have the time to do that.
Right.
And that's what we see with all of our clients who adhere to what we call the Veritas Way. That's that structure we talk about.
I like it.
We talk it over and over.
I like the Veritas Way.
You got to work the Veritas Way. And if you do that, you're going to see value over the next 2-3 years. Unbelievable value that you've never seen before.
Yeah. It's great. The Veritas Way. All right. All right. We got about 3 minutes left. So in 30 seconds, I want to know your backstory on how you came up with, how you got to where you are today.
Gosh. Okay. So I've been in fundraising for 37 years. My business partner, Richard Perry, back in 2005 or so, really took the discipline of direct response fundraising, which I was talking about, data, structure, all the business aspects, and applied it to major gifts, and saw that it started working for clients that we had on the direct response side. In 2005, they sold that company, the direct response company he had. We came together in 2009 in my living room, and we said, look, we can take this structure and apply it to nonprofits, and we think in their major gift side, and make some success. And we started in 2009. This is two of us. And so today we're now a global brand. We're working in Europe. We work with over 60 nonprofits right now consulting, but we've trained over 6,000 fundraisers with our online training program. All the things we've learned on the consulting side, we put into online training program. And now we're, working with thousands of fundraisers all over the world. So
you're making a big impact. And, what I love about business is when you can find an area that is not served, you can take age-old philosophy of systems, put a system in place of where people are not aware that they need it. You can give them the tools to just follow, and then they retain and grow their business and their clients and their donors. So I think what you've identified, what you've built, what you've created, how you can help people have these epiphany moments on how to keep growing their nonprofit organizations. And again, it's a lot harder to get a new than it is to retain. And so if you can build something and use the Veritas Way to retain, it's great. All right, quick speed round. Book that's had a big impact on you.
Oh, gosh. I would say any biography about Teddy Roosevelt. I've read like 6 of them. He's had a huge influence. Talk about somebody who was sick and weakling as a kid and took the bull by the horns through his life.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, the teddy bear was named after Teddy Roosevelt.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right. So there's my favorite podcast. I love my podcast, but my favorite podcast is called Founders by David Senra. If you're not familiar with it, you will love it. He does an episode, I think it's episode 156, on the autobiography of Theodore Roosevelt. He reads every autobiography and then does a 1 to 1.5 hour talk on it. Founders.
I love that.
Is the
Founders.
All right.
156. Wow. That's pretty good.
I think so. What's that's how I roll. What best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Gosh. Probably from my former business partner, who would always say, don't take a minute to act, because I'm an activator. I want to just like move forward. And so is he. And he learned early on in life, look, this is one of your gifts, but it also can be a real problem. So before you act, take some time and step away for a bit and really let it sit for a second. So that's basically it. Don't act too quick without just first taking that one little pause.
My Uncle Stephen always says, think about tomorrow today. Forces you to kind of pause it. All right, last question. Finish the sentence. One thing everybody can do to start thinking about their nonprofit, the very first step as a business is?
That you should diversify your revenue streams, and major gifts is the easiest area right now to see the biggest impact.
It's great. Tell everybody where they can connect with you and who your ideal clients are.
Yeah. They can go to veritasgroup.com, and we have a ton of free resources there. Go to our resources tab and connect there. That's the easiest place for people to sign up.
All right. That works. Right. Jeff, this was great. Think community. Jeff shared a lot of things. Most importantly, if you are a nonprofit and you're listening to this, start taking your nonprofit and running it. Take it to the next step and start running it and looking at it as a business. Jeff, I love how you talked about that. People want an experience. They want fulfillment. They want joy. They want to feel connected. That's not changing. It's just going to get harder to do. Systems are the key to every single business. James Clear, which is one of my favorite books, is Atomic Habits. I can't think of the quote exactly off of my head, but basically he talks about we just fall to the level of our systems. Think community, systematize everything, whether it's a business or nonprofit. Jeff, can't thank you enough. If you want to reach Jeff, you can get him at veritasgroup.com. You want to talk about business coaching, johndwoskin.com. Jeff, this was great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.